Hello, I'm Kevin Tame, and welcome to the Hacktivist. Today I am playing the SOCR 4, or StimHack Online Cache Refresh Tournament. This is round number 4 against mbrzl. I think that's how you say it, mbrzl. mbrzl. Yeah, and he is playing on Gagarin and Reyna, and I am playing Ayla and CI. So let's jump right into this match. It's some pretty good matches. So I'm running first, and I see a professional contacts early on NVRAN, which is great. I also see a turtle, and I like to put my breakers on there just to have them. My starting hand is great. Sure Gamble and professional contacts is like exactly what I want to see. So I'm assuming my opponent is using some of the new kind of assets like Urban Renewal that give you damage, meat damage. So what I want to do here is, kind of get set up, try and find, I have some biometric spoofings in my deck to try and protect myself so I don't die. Hopefully I can maybe pick off some stuff from HQ. But I'm feeling pretty good about this right now. I see a Moon's Rezzed, and when I see the Moon's Rezzed, I'm like, oh, I got to go deal with that. That's a problem. So my opponent rezzes Astro Belt. I have a way to deal with that with Inti. I probably should have this turn gone and dealt with that, but I end up just going and getting my turtles and putting it down. I don't know if that's the best play. I should have probably contested this Moon because my opponent now has 4 counters on it, and that's bad. I realized that after the fact, and so I go, okay, I'm going to get this this set up. Part of the we're talking about getting a counter or whatnot, and you do get a counter with turtles. So even if you're accessing 0 cards, so we're just waiting to see what to help out everyone to make sure that my opponent agrees with me. Urban Renewal comes out. That's to be expected. I'll need to go and deal with that. Not right away, but at least 2 turns away. My opponent plays another priority construction here. I can't really deal with that yet. I can't risk hitting a Mausolus or anything like that. So I just let that one stay behind there. My opponent goes ahead and advances. Firmware updates. That's a pretty good card. So I go ahead and draw up. I really want to use this Maw if I can, but I need to deal with Urban Renewal right now. So I go ahead and I deal with Urban Renewal. I've already made the run, so I'm going to go and deal with that Wampoa because I can't let that keep cycling things back through. My opponent uses Wake Up Call, which is kind of annoying because I don't really want to lose my dedicated processor, and I don't really want to take the meat damage either. It would have been nice if I found biometric spoofing. So I'm just debating here what I want to do. If I lose my dedicated processor, that's a real bad thing because then I can't get through this Astro Belt, and my opponent has a really good server that I can't run through. So all they have to do is just keep installing stuff, and that taxes me out really fast. So I took the meat damage. Losing Ma was kind of a pain. This is kind of a key moment that I think is important to recognize where my opponent played this really well. My opponent has Moon and has a way to get up to credits. My opponent also, you have to be really careful here when you're playing against Wayland. If you see 9 agenda counters, you need to be aware of that. You need to be like, okay, my opponent now is in range to do government takeover with the Red Planet Couriers. So at this case, you have to be careful that your opponent doesn't biotic out and then do Red Planet Couriers. What they need is they need 4 for biotic, and then they need obviously 9 counters, and then 5 for Red Planet Couriers. For my opponent, what my opponent did though was my opponent blindly installed out the government takeovers and put the moons in there, knowing that I would probably run the moons to deal with that. So it was a really good play on my opponent's part. Yeah, I like that one really caught me off guard. I should have played a little more, like I should have been a little bit more in tune with what my opponent was doing, seeing all of those priority constructions, seeing the, you know, the counters. I felt like I was actually in a really good position with that. I was controlling my opponent's board, but my opponent kind of led me right down the path they wanted to and was able to score out the government takeover for the win. Really well played. I did not see that one coming, and I should have been more aware. When you see 9 counters on the board, just be aware that you're in Red Planet Courier range. And also that they have to install it if they don't have the credits to use Biotic. So let's jump right into this next match. So I'm playing CI and my opponent is playing Reyna. Anarchs are generally a pain because of Mining Accident and Ma. I went ahead and mulliganed my hand, but I mulliganed into a worse hand because it has 2 agendas. And then I drew and I found another agenda. This indexing is pretty safe. It's highly unlikely that my opponent's going to see an agenda. I've seen 3 of my 8 agendas. I only have 8 agendas in this deck, and I've seen 3 of them already in my starting hand. And so it's unlikely my opponent's going to see any agendas. My opponent obviously doesn't see any, and so my opponent is trying to position the indexing in a way that like makes it not as good for me, like pushing down my ice and whatnot. So I just click for credits. Got to kind of recover here. I don't have good things to be able to, you know, I don't have good stuff to be able to, you know, get my money going. That rain attacks is really potent, and so I'm just trying to get as many counters on moon as I can. And then the plan here is to, you know, pop moons. I see another Ikawa project, which is kind of a pain because now I've seen half my agendas in not half my deck. I go ahead and install this MCA. I want to start setting it up. I'm thinking that my opponent won't be able to get in yet because my opponent hasn't seen a fractor. So I'm hoping that it will be safe for a while. I have so many agendas, it's very likely my opponent would see one of those. They see Ikawa, which is a pretty good tax for them, a click and a credit and 2 credits. So that felt pretty good. Once again, I'm at a lot of risk here. My opponent, I can't pay the 5 there. I almost always like to pay it, but at that time I wasn't able to pay it. So I end up just, you know, just waiting. This one I'm in an okay position. If I pay, I'll pay 5. I have 4 credits that will click in. I can, you know, get some money back. I'll have to pitch some stuff because I want this MCA to fire because I'm in kind of a position where like I need to get an opportunity to score elective upgrades. So these mining accidents are becoming a real pain for me. I'm having to, you know, keep clicking for credits to try and recover. It's really slowing me down quite a bit. But now I have some pads and a Adonis. I'm hoping here that I'll be able to get some money to kind of go. I see a Clan Vengeance, and this is bad news for me because if my opponent can start getting damage, what they'll be able to do is just clear out my hand. And I'm so heavy with agendas in my hand that pretty much it's guaranteed any Clan Vengeance that they fire off is going to hit. They get another Clan Vengeance down, so I'm at huge risk right now if they're able to start giving themselves damage. So I go ahead and I need to score this elective upgrades as quickly as possible because I need to close this game out. I don't have a ton of money, but like I need to try and get these Vitruviuses scored. My opponent plays by any means and takes 3 meat damage. And then we have a little bit of a issue here with lagging, and my opponent. So what ends up happening here is my opponent's going to fire the Clan Vengeance again, and that's gonna, what that does is that basically takes, I have two Vitruviuses and 2 Ikawa projects now in archives. It took us a second to kind of fix up. What happened here is my only play was to play Violet level and try and find a piece of ice. I didn't find a piece of ice, but I found a Vitruvius, which is kind of like the next best answer for me. And so what I wanted to do was install Vitruvius and hope that I will be able to recover, be able to score here and get some counters to bring some of these agendas back. So my opponent, what you saw that they did is they used, because they had used by any means, they got a bunch of meat damage. They started drawing up to kind of get some breakers and whatnot. I only had one agenda left in R&D, which was an elective upgrade, so there was no way that I was going to lose. Here I have 15 credits, and so I'm doing the math to figure out how I can get as many counters as possible. So what it means is I do 1 elective upgrade, 1 biotic, I advance 5 times, and then I use a calibration testing to give it 6 counters, just 6 agenda point pips, or 6 agenda counters, I guess. This now I have 3 agenda counters that I am able to use to pull back agendas. This puts me in a position where my opponent actually can't win here, I believe. Well, they could have won, but my opponent levied. And so that took, they played Sure Gamble and then levied, and that took 2 of their clicks. And so it put them in a position where they can't steal Ikawa and do a mad dash at the same time. But even if they had run in, what I do is if they run in with a mad dash, the only thing I leave there is a Vitruvius for them. If they run with 1 click left, then I leave the Ikawa and they steal it and they're on 6 points. So I felt pretty confident there was no way I was going to lose that match unless they had hit elective upgrades on R&D with mad dash. This ending of a match was incredible. Like, I have never been able to recover that well before. I had 10 points in archives in 1 turn, basically to try and fix it. I got really lucky with the ultraviolet clearance, and when I saw the Vitruvius and was able to install it into server 2. My opponent had no cards in hand, so it was unlikely that they were going to be able to get into server 2 to contest that. They were also in a position where they wanted to draw up with professional context to kind of start setting up for the next turn. So it couldn't have been any better. It's pretty unlikely that they were going to run archives anyways on that last click. If they had, they would have seen 2 Vitruviuses and 1. But yeah, this was a really great match, really intense. I honestly thought this one was a lost match once I saw the Clan Vengeances. In hindsight, I probably could have just allowed my opponent to have the bad pub. But I find bad pub is really bad when you're playing a Moons deck because your assets become very easy to trash for them. But the problem is I just had it put me back so much that I would have been better off giving them the bad pub, I think, in this case, because then I would have been able to score the elective upgrades and try and rush out quicker. I spent several turns just clicking for credits when it would have been better to get my MCA going and be able to keep drawing up to protect HQ, because I had such a low card count in HQ. It would have been better to keep drawing as many as I can, so when Clan Vengeance does hit, it hopefully it doesn't hit as many agendas. Well played by my opponent both matches. These were really fun games and I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments or you like what I do, please subscribe and like this video. Talk to you later and have a great day. Bye.